No Money But Dreams podcast is for those millennial dreamers
who try to be in the top 1%.
It doesn't matter what we've achieved.
We wake up every morning with the mindset that we're still broke.
We welcome you on our journey in search of that home run.
Which can change everything.
Everything?
Everything.
Welcome to another episode of the No Money But Dreams podcast, where we speak to some of the the region's top entrepreneurs and business thought leaders. Today we have Dani El Zein with us, who is the founder of Suppy.io, which is a data-driven inventory management system for restaurants. I've known Dani for a long time now, and actually Suppy has helped Burger28 reduce its food costs by around 2 or 3%, which to a lot of people might sound like not a massive impact. But the truth is, when the margins have gotten so tight in the past 3 or 4 years past COVID, that 2 or 3% is really, really important. I've watched you from ideation of Suppy to where it is today, and it's really a pleasure to have you on the podcast to kind of pick your brain and hopefully give value to other people who are looking to be entrepreneurs in the region.
Thank you, Alex, for having me.
That's a pleasure, man. So firstly, who is Dani and what's your mission?
Cool. Really quickly, Dani's an entrepreneur who's based in Dubai and who's really trying to build a software business, an enterprise software business that has a global potential. So far, we're in 25 countries, so we're very proud to be one of the few businesses that have expanded a Saas business from Dubai to the world, and that's what we're trying to do. And
why did you start Suppy? Like, what problem did you identify, or where did you find out that there was a problem?
Why I started Suppy, it kind of happened by mistake. So I did have my own restaurant in 2017, and we enjoyed nice revenue, but we never enjoyed good bottom line. Our bottom line was high, so we built a small app for our chefs so that we can control a bit the purchases that they're doing. And that was the beginning of Suppy. So while I was in another job, I had this very simple Mickey Mouse app that my chef was using. And that really got me to dive deep into food costs, managing food costs. And our mission is, and has always been, to help restaurants manage food costs and increase profitability. So it started by mistake, and then it snowballed a bit, and we decided to turn it into a real business. We saw an opportunity. We didn't invent inventory management. This is a category that's existed for decades, even more centuries. Any business has revenue and has COGS.
Yeah.
We do the COGS. We didn't invent it. We're competing in a category that already exists, but we thought we could do it better than global competitors.
A lot of people who want to start businesses, they think that they need to be the first person to create the idea or the first person to solve the problem. As what you've said is that you knew that there were other players in the market, but what gave you the conviction that you could do it better?
Look, so I tried a lot of these softwares. When our food cost was high, I implemented a lot of different softwares. I looked at softwares in the US, softwares in the East and in Australia, and they were just really complicated. We didn't find the right support that we needed here, and we thought that, hey, these softwares are so complex that we don't even want to use them. If we give them to our staff in the kitchen, they're going to enter the information wrong. And in a software like inventory, if you enter wrong information,
the whole thing goes to shit.
Yeah, the software is useless. Garbage in, garbage out. So we thought, because we started off on mobile, where it was a simple Mickey Mouse app for our chef, we thought,
I remember it was almost like a WhatsApp group, wasn't it? Originally, the MVP was a WhatsApp group.
Literally, just a WhatsApp group with approvals. But yeah, we thought, we're mobile first. Let's keep going on the mobile, and let's try and build something that's very user friendly. So yeah, that was it.
I take it. Well, I know it wasn't, but people wouldn't know that it wasn't your first time doing some sort of startup or being an entrepreneur, because you created a really simple MVP, which didn't cost you much.
Correct.
To test the market. What would be your advice to people looking to start a business or try and solve a problem with tech using as least capital as possible? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think it's always important to build something when there's a need, and something that is a must-have. Meaning, you can have so many problems in this world, and it doesn't mean that every problem has a business opportunity behind it. Maybe that's what you read in books, but I'm not of that. I mean, I don't believe in that every problem has an opportunity behind it. And what I mean here is, if I build a company that's just a feature, then this feature can be a good to have, meaning, yeah, it's a problem, maybe it's going to solve it, but you really want a must have. So you want to build something that your customer without it is going to have a bigger problem, is going to have an issue, is going to get lost. So there's a big emphasis on must have versus good to have, and you need to build a business that is a must have for your customer and not a good to have.
I think I read somewhere that somebody said, make sure you're not creating a Band-Aid, but you're creating a painkiller.
Correct. I mean, yeah, a feature versus I like to call it, I mean, I'm software, so I like to call it.
Okay. Joke.
I like to call it like, don't build a feature, build a platform.
And at what point did you know, when you were doing the Mickey Mouse MVP, that, okay, there's a demand here, we're actually solving a problem, let's properly take this to market?
So look, the MVP Mickey Mouse was a feature. And that was, I mean, I did pivot. And I went from a feature to a platform. And we pivoted because we realized that, yes, we were getting traction, but at the end of the day, what we were doing was just a feature. It was a good to have. Life can go on without it.
Yeah.
My chefs could work and could live without that feature. So we went from this good to have to this must have, and we realized that we needed something like, first of all, there was an opportunity, there was a need, people were asking for it, and we followed what our customers wanted. But we realized that there was a massive opportunity to move from this single feature to this massive platform.
Let's put a little context around that, because people will not necessarily know. So the original idea was to create a marketplace, similar?
No, the original idea was to simply help automate purchase orders from restaurants to vendors. Your existing suppliers as a restaurant.
A communication platform, basically.
Just a pure communication
which you basically
platform.
have the data that you can track.
Correct.
Okay. And then your pivot, you said.
Our pivot was to close the loop. If you think of a restaurant, you have front of house and back of house.
I get nightmares thinking about restaurants, but yeah.
I mean, you have front of house, back of house.
Front of house is your POS, basically.
Exactly.
And back of house, all the POS systems actually say they have a back of house, but because they haven't built it for back of house, they've actually focused on the front of house. The back of house, POS system sucks.
I mean, yeah, I'll stay polite here. I mean, POS, we do compete somehow with the back of house of the POSs. But at the end of the day, a front of house, a POS, this is helping you capture revenue. It's everything. It's capturing everything related to revenue. And that space is nonstop evolving, whether it's QR codes, whether it's payments, whether it's reservation systems, whether it's menus. It's not just a system where you punch an order. So there's a lot of focus that has to come into staying ahead of the curve in the front of the house. Back of the house is, what we do is everything related to purchase orders, ingredients, recipes, reporting, wastage, firing up your grill, receiving invoices from suppliers. So it's literally everything that has to do with cost. Yeah. And if we track back a bit, I said I started with purchases, so purchase orders to suppliers.
Which was the first step to...
Exactly. So what happened?
The first data point, basically. If you don't know what your purchase orders are and you can't communicate, then you can't do anything else.
Exactly. So what happens after a purchase order? You're kind of closing the loop. A purchase order goes out to a supplier delivers with an invoice. We stopped there. Then we decided, hey, let's keep going. Supplier brings the invoice comes into my system, invoice then goes out of my system into an accounting software. We update our inventory and we start working on your food costs. So we did have that Mickey Mouse app, and then we built a platform around it. So we always have our MVP. It's still there. It's still being used, but along with the platform, we stopped selling it independently.
And did you start out free, or was it paid from the very beginning? What was your strategy there?
So we did start off free, and it's one regret I have. Having a free product is, unless you have a very defined strategy behind it, which, to be very frank, we did, but we never executed on that strategy that we had initially. We thought the market wasn't ready for it. But having a free product, sometimes the market doesn't take you seriously when you're in B2B. So like tracking back, I wish we had more focus on product, less focus on aggressive growth and aggressive expansion, because we did track back when we pivoted. We were aggressive. We tracked back, we focused on product, we got our MVP, we got our product market fit, and then we went back to market to grow into where we are today in 25 countries.
And do you think that your timing was important, or your timing was right with Suppy?
Look, I mean, timing is definitely important in any business. And yes, in Suppy, it was important. Like we were born in Dubai and in Riyadh. So we're co-HQ'd in Saudi and in UAE. And both of these countries have become international food cities.
Yeah.
I mean, you see the largest brands in the world initially selling franchises and opening up shop in the UAE and in Saudi. Whether it's Michelin star restaurants from Europe or from the US or from Las Vegas, all of them have presence today in the UAE and KSA. And then what you saw is also brands being born out of the UAE and out of KSA that have expanded to the world.
Yeah.
Let's say Gaia. Gaia today is present in London and Monaco and Miami. If we think of Kuru and KSA also expanding globally. So you do have these iconic brands, and being present at this time when this boom in hospitality is happening in this region, it helped us. It helped us build trust. It helped us build credibility as we expand to the world as well with these highly recognizable brands. So definitely timing is always important in any business.
And where's the first other geographic location that you started in besides UAE and KSA?
So in terms of having a presence, like a sales team, we don't have sales teams in 25 markets. I mean, we have organic growth in a lot of these markets. Like we have a client in Haiti, in Kenya, in Mexico. But I mean, these were purely on marketing. But to answer your question, the first market where we built a team outside UAE and KSA is Australia.
Wow, Australia out of everywhere, the farthest place possible.
Yeah,
and why was that?
I mean, Australia kind of happened by mistake. We had an inquiry from a super reputable client in Australia, a very large client, who had explored all softwares available globally, my global competitors from the US mostly. And he landed on our website thanks to all the efforts we put in, trying to rank high on Google and all that SEO marketing that we always hear about. And he loved Suppy. I happened to have taken the demo for that client because it was at 4 a.m. Dubai time, which was like 2 p.m. Australia time. So, and I didn't know what to expect. Like, how's the Australian market? Do we need to localize? And the guy ended up signing up with us, and that gave us a massive boost of confidence.
Of course.
Obviously, we're software, so we don't need to localize much when we expand into new markets. But then he referred us to other clients. And as he was referring us, we realized that, hey, this time zone is an issue, but there's an opportunity. These other clients did not have the confidence to sign up with Suppy because we don't have a presence. So what happened in May 2024, this year actually, we had a big meeting, and the client said, "Do you have a presence in Australia?" I told him, "Yeah, we do." He's like, "Great, let's meet next week." I told him, "Great, yeah." I flew out to Australia, literally met the client, signed him, hired a small team while I was there, spent 6 weeks in Australia, and now today in November is our strongest performing market.
That's incredible.
I mean, it's a massive market. You think of Australia, it's like 5 Londons in one country.
Yeah, you had meant to speak a bit more about that, because when you had given me that little nugget of information and I looked into it, it was pretty impressive to see that the demographic, you obviously have this enormous landmass, but all the populations are centralized in key cities. In the middle, there's not much. Exactly. So that creates a pretty interesting market in general. Considering the population is 22 million or something?
22, yeah.
Which is same as Saudi, pretty much.
Yeah, even less maybe.
Yeah.
Look, if you think of who's the ideal, let's take a step back. Who's the ideal customer for Suppy? It's any multi-branch restaurant operator.
Yeah.
So if you're a standalone restaurant, you don't need a software that's as rich in terms of features for inventory management as Suppy.
Yeah.
It'll be too complex and too expensive. You're better off using what a POS is offering, which is great. If you're someone who has more than 5 outlets, who operates a central kitchen or warehouse, even if you have 200 outlets, then you need a specialized inventory system like Suppy. And when we think of Dubai, yes, Dubai is a great market in terms of brands. You don't have these clients that have hundreds and 50 and hundreds of branches. Your average client here has 3-4 branches.
Yeah.
When you go to Australia, on the other hand, it's a massive continent, but you have five major cities. You have Brisbane, you have Sydney, you have Perth, you have Melbourne, you have Queensland. You have a lot of different cities, and every one of these cities is like dense, a big population, and spending power is high. And what that means is, if you're a successful brand in Australia,
of course
you're naturally going to have 40 branches.
Yeah.
So we also realized that our product is a very good fit for that country. So yeah, that's what really made me say, why not?
So you almost have better product market fit in Australia than you do in the home geographic location that you started.
Definitely. And like, I can't wait to get into even bigger markets.
And how quickly was that aha moment?
Honestly, it took 6 months. Like, you have to have this conviction that let the customer use your software, let him refer you, let him see the value, build a case study. We did all that, and the referrals kept coming, and yeah, that's 6 months, I would say. Even today, I still have aha moments. Like, sometimes I even think, like, is this real? Like, halfway across the world, such a big chain and reputable brand is using our software, which was built out of the GCC.
It's incredible. But that's the beauty of software, right? Pure scalability.
100%.
And the appeal for a lot of people. So what's the next market besides Australia that you're looking to tackle or that you're involved in at the moment?
Look, like, we built a lot of confidence that we have a product that can compete with global leaders in what we do in our category. And if I think of GCC, yeah, it's a beautiful market. I'm not going to say it's a test bed. It's our home market. It's our largest revenue. It comes from the GCC. Australia, we did, but we need to follow a few things to open up markets. One of them is integrations with point of sale systems. Another one is language, not in terms of software language, but in terms of team. Like, I don't have a team that speaks Spanish, so it's going to be hard for me to go into Spain if I want to do onboarding, if I want to support. So we want to be cost efficient in our expansion. So naturally for us, it will be UK. UK is also a beautiful market. And we started actually last month to test a bit, soft launch, and it's been great, but it is highly competitive. Like,
more competitive than Australia?
Yeah, by far.
And what kind of learnings did you have in Australia that you're trying to apply in your expansion into the UK?
So the markets in the West, I mean, Australia is in the East, but I mean, these markets are very much focused on tendering. So they run tenders for software. So that's one big learning we had in Australia that we applied in the UK. We need to be in front of the right people in order for us to be invited to the tenders whenever they're going to refresh their software stack. Again, we're competing against a category that exists. And in the UK, everyone uses inventory software, 100% of the market. In Dubai and Saudi, no, it's a small part of the market. We're educating. In Australia, I would say it's half the market. But in the UK, it's 100%. So we need to go there, compete, convince people that we're better than what they're using. And yeah, that was one of the learnings we got from Australia. And another one is build trust and brand awareness through partners. So we're working a lot with partners. And when I say partners, it means integrated partners, your POS, your accounting software. Because if these guys recommend you, your client will trust you a bit more.
Is that your biggest customer acquisition channel now as you try and expand?
In expansion, yes.
And when did you realize that? Because in the beginning, I'm sure there was a bit of like pushback. There must always be. If someone's saying, okay, I need data to share with you in an API call, etc., then the POS software might say, I don't know about you guys. I don't know if I'm ready to integrate. How did you tackle those situations where someone that you needed to integrate with that would open this acquisition channel were kind of not feeling that you were going to deliver them value?
Look, at the end of the day, like, if we're transparent, hey, this is what we do, and we're not going to cross any lines. Like, we're purely focused on back office. And if we offer a solution together, it's a win-win for us and for the front of house, the POS or the accounting software, because we're offering a strong solution to a customer. And what that means is retention. At the end of the day, if the customer is happy with his whole solution, meaning from the front to the back to the accounting, then
He's not going to churn.
He's not going to churn. And
Any of the three.
100%. And that's what we all care about. So even if I'm going to go ahead with a POS partner, I also want a POS partner that has a healthy integration with us. Because if the integration is going to fail constantly, I'm going to look bad and I'm going to churn the client. Same thing with the POS. He wants someone that his customer can rely on when it comes to food costs, when it comes to managing inventory. So obviously we can't just partner with anyone when we co-sell, but it creates, if you're able to, trust each other, it creates a very strong value proposition. And so far, we haven't had any issues when it comes to integrating with POSs. Everyone's open. Yeah.
From your competitors, who do you think is doing the best job and why?
Look, I think Crunch Time is I would say the leader in the space globally. Restaurant 365 as well, both of whom are in the US. What's nice about them is they work with all the top brands in the world, whether it's KFC, whether it's McDonald's, whether it's Taco Bell, Pizza Hut. All of these brands in the US work with Crunch Time. And the beauty is they can have 1,000 customers or clients, but they can have 100,000 outlets. Once you land a contract with Pizza Hut out of headquarters in the US, or a contract with McDonald's out of the HQ in the US, and you automatically open up doors to every single McDonald's outlet in the world.
Yeah, which is unbelievable.
We don't have that here yet. I did mention that we have brands that are born here and growing globally. They have brands that were born 100 years ago that have a global presence. So being in the US is, having these softwares in the US is, I think that's the biggest advantage they have.
And do you plan on entering the US market at one point?
Look, we'd love to at the right time, definitely.
And when would you know is the right time?
I think US needs a lot of focus because it's highly competitive. It's a completely different time zone as well. You need, I think, a bit more maturity. We're still a very young startup. We're still, pushing, working long hours. We hustle a lot. Yes, we are. It's like organized chaos. I think we need less chaos, more structure for us to be able to launch such a big market. So I'll say probably we're not ready today or in the next 6 months. Like, we really need to build, much stronger pillars in terms of structure in our organization.
And when you embarked on this journey, how did you get the funding in the beginning?
Funding is all about trust as well. Maybe I use this word too much, but I believe life is about trust. And I had been in touch with many of the VCs that have invested in Suppy for a while. And I had pitched to them over the years, even when I was 22 years old, and before they had their VCs. So I had these long-standing relationships with a few of the VCs that have invested with Suppy. And when I gave them the vision, they saw passion, they saw perseverance, they saw resilience, and they believed in me. And that was, to me, it was very humbling as well, that you're able to raise money in the very early days because someone believes in you, believes in the business you're doing, but mostly it's trust. I trust that if we give Dani money, we believe that he's going to build the right solution ethically, correctly, and hopefully succeed out of it.
For startup founders, what would you give as advice on how to raise money? Where should they start? If someone has an idea, they obviously don't have money, what would be the process, or what would be kind of the trajectory that you'd suggest them to take?
Look, I would always say try and bootstrap, try and build an MVP, try and build strong, and that's what I did. I spent 8 months bootstrapping. Try and build an MVP, get the product, not product market fit, but get some feedback from customers. Get conviction, because if you don't have conviction in what you're doing as a founder, if you're just out there to build a startup and you don't have so much conviction in what you're doing, you're not going to convey trust to your investor. You need to be so confident and so passionate about what you're doing to convey this trust in very early stage. And yeah, that's what I suggest is, how do you get that conviction is get feedback from a customer on your MVP that you've bootstrapped and you've built. And once you have that conviction in you, go out and sell it.
Then when you have the conviction, you actually genuinely believe it as well.
Exactly.
Because you're not just in your own head.
100%. And these investors know that. They see thousands of startups, thousands of founders.
Yeah.
They know which founder is the one who's like, truly passionate about what he's doing and what he wants and why he wants it, and they're going to trust it. So early stage investors invest in a founder. They don't invest in the business, because there's no business.
Exactly. You almost have to think about, how do you build your brand that would be someone would want to invest in?
100%.
Like every single time you're speaking with someone who's going to give you money, it's kind of like an interview into who you are and your insight. And we all know in business that half of it is just sticking it out and showing up and showing resilience.
100%.
Any problem that comes up, you find a solution instead of running away from it. But I think too many people think that it's so easy to take money. But there's also different types of money. Like how stressful is it when you take other people's money versus bootstrapping?
Yeah, look, I never thought I would. 2022 was a tough year for me. I raised a seed round of funding, and right after I raised it, instead of feeling relief, I felt anxiety, stressed, borderline depression, and I didn't understand, like, how did I raise this money, and how did people trust a 32-year-old with all this money? And yeah, it stressed me out like crazy, and it took me 6 months probably to really understand that, no, I need to deliver. Wake up, Dani, what the hell's happening with you? So to me, it stressed me out. Other founders might be relieved. They might get a funding round and everyone will react differently. But to me, I couldn't understand, like, yeah, it was a lot of money and it was stressful. But today, thank God, and thankfully, we did all the right moves to spend that money in the right way and to build a business that I think today has a global opportunity.
I think another thing is that people have no issue giving you money as long as you spend it and run the business with integrity. Like, if you fail, it's okay. Not you, but in general, like, these VCs are taking punts on 100 different founders, and some of them are not going to work. But you need to make sure that you deploy the capital, or you have integrity in what you do, and you're actually trying your best to make sure that it does work. But I think a lot of founders also they get all this money, they don't feel that pressure, they feel that relief, and then they feel, okay, this is a ticket for me to start spending. How did you control, for example, how you spent the money or how you allocated the money? Like, what was the mindset? I find it that you kind of really have a mindset like it's your own money, whereas I've seen other founders who don't feel that way. How has that benefited you?
Look, my background was investment banking, and investment banking teaches you a lot of discipline, a lot of resilience. You get thrown in the deep end and you figure things out. And I feel like that kind of helped me when I raised money. And we were working in investment banking on very big transactions, hundreds of millions, billions. So I got a bit of that pressure back then. So when I got the money, again, I felt a responsibility towards my investors. And I always keep my investors as close as possible. I update them constantly, whether it's positive news, whether it's negative news, whether it's even me telling them, hey guys, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never said that, but to the extent where I would. If I have an issue, I'm so open with my investors because we're in this journey together. I'm executing, they're funding, they're advising. So it's very important to stay as close as to your investors as possible, because it's all of our money together. It's not just one investor to invest. Like, all of my investors and me, we need to stay transparent and keep them updated. And I'm always open to feedback and to ideas.
Basically, good communication, which
100%.
is important for everything. And when you do raise money, obviously you get to choose what salary you're going to pay yourself. What do you think is a good way to calculate how much you should be remunerated as a founder on this journey? How did you figure that out?
Look, I'm probably not the best one to answer this question because I do underpay myself. To me, I always think, like, every dollar I want to increase my own salary, I'd rather increase the salary of one of our team members. So yeah, it's a chicken and egg, because at the end of the day, you always have people who want raises and who deserve raises.
Yeah.
And when you're building a startup, you need to compromise in terms of the talent pool that's available for the salaries that you're willing to pay. You might find someone who's incredible for a lower than market salary, but it's hard to find these people because they're probably going to be at big corporates instead of working for a startup. So the talent pool we're dealing with is, I would say, mid-level. It's very hard for me to just afford people with 15 years of experience. Impossible, actually. So yeah, we always want to incentivize my colleagues over paying an extra dollar to me. But then at the end of the day, what's important for a founder is at least cover your basics, meaning you need to live, you need the roof. You need to not be like hungry, meaning you need to be comfortable.
Otherwise you can't focus.
Exactly. So if you don't have a salary, then you don't want a founder who's going to think, hey, I might as well go back to corporate and get a job.
Yeah.
So it's very important. There's a fine line. There's no need to be overpaid. There's no need to have a salary where you can save money or where you can, spend more than you need. That's my take. So I spend X a month for, food, sports, roof under my head, family, whatever it is, and I need the X.
And when you come to hiring a team, how do you manage with such a small talent pool? Obviously, you have to take bets on people. What's your policy on hiring, firing? What kind of advice could you give there?
Look, so yeah, hiring is probably the most difficult part of, for me, it's one of my most challenging areas. One thing I look at a lot is character. And I'm someone who likes to dive into my business. I don't surf on the top. And what that means is today, at this point in time, we operate kind of a flat structure in Suppy. So I need people who are okay with operating a flat structure, meaning I can't parachute someone senior in who needs to build a whole team around him to operate, because I don't do that.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want someone to do that today, because we're all pushing as hard as we can, and we keep shifting, we keep changing strategies, we keep trying new things. So I need people who can adapt to the way that me and my co-founders operate. So that's very important. So character is very important. We need people who are humble. We need people who are passionate. We need people who really believe in what we're doing and who are in it because they want to see the success of, building a software, all of us together. And what drives them is the success of the startup rather than just a salary. Obviously, salary is very important. And yes, it is sometimes, the reason behind losing someone or keeping someone or hiring someone. But character is super important for us, and passion.
And in general, have you let people go because they asked for more money and you couldn't afford it?
Yeah, I let one of my favorite employees, not let go, he actually resigned because he had an offer that was double what I was paying him. And this guy, you probably know him as well, he was one of our most impactful employees in 2023. And yeah, we couldn't afford his salary. And at the end of the day, I told him, look, money is important. You want to save money. And if you have this opportunity where you're getting offered double the salary, take it.
Yeah.
I can't afford that, but take it. And one day I'll be able to afford and bring you back into Suppy.
Yeah, exactly. With even more knowledge.
100%.
But how do you deal with a resignation at such a top level? And I guess it's easier when you have a flatter structure, no?
Yeah. Because we have a flat structure, because me and my co-founders, we dive deep into the business. We're able to kind of
you know exactly what's going on,
100%.
Essentially.
We're able to replace temporary, to put a bit more hours, to take over the role the hole that was created when someone resigns.
And how do you know when it's the right time to get rid of somebody? How long do you wait, or what's your procedure or framework?
Obviously performance is very important, and if someone is not performing well, we give him a warning, we give him 2 warnings, 3 warnings, and then if it doesn't work out, just like any business, we'll ask him to leave. But it doesn't happen often, and for me to give someone a warning or 2 warnings or 3 warnings, it means I didn't hire correctly.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that the person is not fit for Suppy. It means that we chose the wrong person for the kind of job we want them to do. So yeah, it's just like any other job.
And if you could start all over again, Suppy, what would be the one thing that you would change?
Less aggressive expansion in the early days. like my Mickey Mouse app lasted 18 months. Like I wish Mickey Mouse died 2 months in and we focused a lot more on product. So that's, I would say, one of the bigger mistakes. And product-led growth.
Yeah, even myself, I think that a lot of people, like even in restaurants, not the same as like a tech platform or whatever, but the moment you take your eye off product, you're not innovating, you're not adding new features, which is menu items in a restaurant or something, the thing just starts to die. And one of the most important hires you can do is to have someone who's head of product, who's actually there pushing and seeing how it can be improved every single time, depending on what customers want. But a lot of people get caught up in the other functions, like CFO, CMO, and all of that. But at the end of the day, if your product isn't very good, then nothing is going to happen.
Yeah.
And where do you think is the biggest opportunity in the next 5 years for somebody who wanted to start a business in the tech space?
Look, definitely AI. I don't want to be cliche, but like I see AI revolutionizing every part of every business. Like if I'm talking about AI internally in Suppy, we use AI for everything now. For sales, we subscribe to so many softwares, and these softwares are startups. A software that can help us automate email sequencing, a software that can help us with customer support, a software that can help us with training clients and creating training materials. All these are startups that now we use. So I feel like AI is just changing everything, and there's so much opportunity there. And you also want to think like, what are the hot topics and the hot spaces that VCs are putting money into? Today, AI is a very hot topic for VCs, and VCs want to invest more in AI. So when you go out to raise money, like when I went out to raise money in 2021 and I started Suppy, I did think, is food tech like a sexy space in the venture capital world in our region? Yes, it was, definitely. Talabat got acquired in 2015. Delivery Hero was rising. Deliveroo went IPO. Like there was a lot going on. Jahiz, Hunger Station. So it was a hot space, I'd say, food tech. So yeah, definitely AI.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for this chat, Dani. I really appreciate it. And I hope there was a lot of value that you guys could get on thinking about what idea to start in the region, or how to get funding, or even how to hire a brilliant team. Your value is amazing, and thank you so much. And it was a pleasure.
Thank you.